Welcome back. Today is 20th November and 20th November is observed as Universal Children's Day. We certainly love our children and we want to have a bright future for them, for ourselves as well. And that's why we care about them. And Pakistan today is also observing Universal Children's Day. For that, we have our special guest in the studios. We are going to have a discussion on Universal Children's Day with Mr. Sajjad Cheema. He is the Executive Director of SPARK, an NGO for the protection of child rights in Pakistan. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Today is 20th November. Tell us about this day. Why do we observe Children's Day, Universal Children's Day, and Pakistan's role in coming up with more steps that we have taken for the protection of child rights in Pakistan?
Thank you. Basically, Children's Day is being observed since you can say the 1990 or 89, because the United Nations adopted the Convention on the Rights of the Child on 20th November 1989, and that's why we are celebrating Children's Day. And basically, Pakistan ratified the convention in 1990, and after the ratification, Pakistan became party to the convention. And once the state is the party to the convention, the state is under an obligation to implement the convention. And how a state can implement the convention, the next step was to develop legislation in accordance with the UNCRC. And the state of Pakistan has developed many laws around child labor, around juvenile justice, free and compulsory education, and many other. But you can see that in existence of those laws, the state of child rights is not very good over here, because the implementation of those laws was not very good, to deliver the rights. And for example, if we were talking about the education is one of the fundamental rights of children, and in our constitution there is an article 25A, and that is speaking about the right of education. And in accordance with that article, there are laws. In all the provinces and at federal level, there are laws to provide free and compulsory education to children. But unfortunately, in Pakistan, there are around 24 million children out of school, and 24 million means this is equal to the total population of Australia. Then you can imagine that how many children are not able to access education. They are not given an opportunity to learn.
Opportunity, here comes the problem, because after 18th Amendment, education is the subject of the provinces. Talking about 22.5 million children out of school, that's what Human Rights Watch said a few days back in their report. Children are out of school. Why do you think, what is the reason that they're out of school? Is it because of the poverty, lack of resources, lack of access to the schools, let's say, or do you think that the provincial governments, they need to be more proactive, let's say, proactive in reaching out to the children? Where is the issue?
Multiple issues are there. First of all, I would like to add on the investment in children. We were talking about the resource allocation. If you want all the children back to school, like 24 million children, then you need more schools. Then you need more teachers. It means that you have to allocate budget for the education. And secondly, the awareness. Education is absolutely free, but people are not convinced. That's why you were talking about the right of education, subject of education has been devolved to the provinces, and provinces has developed laws to provide free and compulsory education. But in our Pakistan, child education is absolutely free, but parents are not convinced to send their children to the schools.
Why is that?
Because people do not understand the importance of education. The people are not aware. And this is here where state can intervene. Like the state have developed laws, like nobody is allowed to keep his or her child out of school. One should send. This is compulsory. Like there are laws in Islamabad. There is a law that was developed, I think, in 2012, and that is speaking loudly about free and compulsory. When there is compulsory, if somebody is not sending his child to school, then the state can,
intervene. Intervene. Yes. But at the same time, when, let's say, there are so many people living below the poverty line in Pakistan, right? And they perhaps don't have any other option except to send their children to work, and here's where the child labor comes in. They are the earning hands of their family. If they send their children to school, they won't be earning,
Yeah.
certainly. And I remember there was once an incentive given by the Punjab government that they would be giving some money to the children if they would be attending the school. But still, even that didn't work out for many families.
Yes.
So this situation is very, I would say,
Yes.
precarious. And why is that? Poverty,
Yes.
do you think, is a big issue?
Poverty is one of the element, but I believe that poverty is due to labor, child labor. Child labor is not due to poverty. I have observed child labor very, keenly.
Closely.
Because if you will develop a law and you will ban child labor, and who will affect? The industrialists. Because many children are operating machines over there in industries. And if you will remove children from there, then who will operate the machines?
Right.
Their parents. And what you are giving children, because you are actually exploiting children. If a child is operating a machine, a child is getting only 3,000 to 4,000 rupees per month.
Right.
And if an adult, if the child is removed and one of his parent is moved to that machine, then he or she will be getting minimum 20,000 as a skilled labor.
Right.
That's why I believe that child labor is the reason of poverty. Poverty is not reason of child labor. And the main reason that why people are not convinced, basically I told you that mindset. Generally, we believe that children are property of their parents. This is the very sweet will of the parents, what they want for their children. They want to send them to school. They want marry their young girls. They do not want give food. They do not want give education. It means that this is very much their private concern. We should not intervene. But in UNCRC, it is very clearly mentioned over there that children are subject to their own rights. They are not property of their parents. Means nobody is allowed to hinder children to access their rights, especially like education. But in Pakistan, we are talking about that there are laws. If somebody is not sending his children to school, state should take action and people should be punished.
State should take the responsibility of the children, because this is a contract between the individual and the state. So state has to be proactive,
Yes,
certainly.
yes.
Talking about child labor, the abuse that children go through while working in different conditions, and that is unimaginable, I would say, in Pakistan. What can we do about that? Because these small
There are
children,
examples.
6-year-old, 7-year-old, they're
Yes,
working on
yes.
workshops, in factories and mills.
Yes. Unfortunately, in Islamabad, where we are sitting, there is a law that is called Employment of Children Act 1991. And I should mention over here that law is not meant to prohibit child labor. That is to regulate child labor. Employment of children, like
Right,
how
yeah.
to employ a child,
Right.
how many hours a child should work, what should be the system, how the department should
So
monitor.
what does it say? What is the age limit, let's say, in that clause?
Basically, that is not to prohibit.
Okay.
That is not
As
to
to regulate
prohibit
and make it legal,
And otherwise,
right.
in provinces there are laws. In Punjab, the minimum age is 15. Under 15 is not allowed to work, if we talk about. And rest of the provinces, under 14 is not allowed to do work. But in Islamabad, there is not a law to prohibit child labor. And now come to the harm. First of all, I would like to add that the worst form of child labor is domestic child labor.
And a lot of
Yes.
young girls are working in
Exactly.
different
You
houses.
recently
and
noticed
boys.
like the
Girls
Iba
and boys.
case and Kinza case and many more. And we started observing the child labor back in 2011. There was a Shazia Masih case in Lahore. She was murdered over there. And we observed in 1 year there were 13 cases of murder. And this kind of labor is called modern day slavery. These children are basically slaves.
Okay.
And a lot of children lost their lives. And many more were sexually abused while they were working at home.
And in many cases, they don't get reported, these incidents for that.
Yes, many cases are not reported, and if the cases were reported, the culprits were not convinced. No conviction is observed since, I'm observing from 2011, only the case, the Taiba case, in which a judicial officer is convicted. And that is only because in 2016 there was an amendment in the law, in the Pakistan Penal Code,
Right.
that is called Second Amendment, Criminal Amendment Act. and under that act there were some sections added regarding the cruelty to child, and the judicial officer is not convicted because of child labor. He is convicted under section of cruelty to child basically. And the children who are working at workshop, they are also subject to corporal punishment and things like that. But when you compare both the children, a children is working on the workshop, you go over there, just ask a question, and the children will be cheerful. They will be ready to talk with you, and the employer is not, able to do extreme nature of punishment with that children, because public is around. People are looking at him. If he will be hitting, somebody will stop him. But just imagine a child is in the home and nobody is able to see that what is going on, and
So
that is disposal on
of
the
a
employer.
family for that
Yes.
matter, right? Yeah.
And if you just try, you go over there and try to talk with the child,
Right.
the child will not able to speak even a single word. This is my experience.
That is sad,
Yeah.
and I think this is what we need to work on.
Yes.
In
And
2018,
unfortunately,
right,
there is no law.
there is no.
We do not have any law to hinder child domestic labor in Pakistan.
Mr. Chima, thank you for joining us. Thank you for educating us on child rights. Pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for your time. We love our children, and at the same time, what just Mr. Chima said, that more awareness is needed, also more laws on the protection of child rights in Pakistan, and we hope that we work on it. We hope that the present government works on these laws in different provinces. Thank you for watching today's show. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz.